Welcome, friends, to the Beaver Dam. This is literally insane. I am so excited about this. For those of you who are Lightspeed bundlers, this is going to be absolutely blowing your mind. This is such a great thing for you. And what I'm talking about is Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. We've had a little bit of a fun time talking about this beautiful man. Yes, he's missing mods on my account. I was testing other things. But even with those missing mods, I was able to pull off some insane stuff, like absolutely wild. And it's all because of this datacron right here. So I'm going to give you a brief look at it. I'll go over why this is so important to this character and why it's so insane. But I've got the 15% max health and max protection, the absolute crazy paragraph right here of the level 6 cron, and then the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren cron right here. Now, of course, a lot of people are talking about the Special Forces TIE cron, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing, but like, you gotta see what this cron does. This is absolutely crazy. We're gonna get into exactly why this cron is so good and why these Supreme Leader, or the First Order crons in general, are gonna be so good at the end of the video. But first, we're gonna roll some footage and just talk a bit about this datacron. Okay, so this footage, I could just play it right now and just show you guys through, and I will. I'm going to play it in just a moment, but I wanted to take a second and just be like, this is beautiful. It makes SLKR into the same level of fun as Bane for me, where it just makes people go, pfft, and it's hilarious. And so I took him against Array with Ben. You know, traditionally a rough team. You gotta time out your ultimate right. Let's see what happens when we throw this against it. So we, start off with the stun, pass over the turn, and, well, we'll siphon from him. Oh. Well, that happened. And keep in mind, this is an SLKR that's missing 3 of his mods. And yet he's pulling off stuff like this. All of these, he's missing his mods. Jabba, he's a traditional counter to Jabba. But the problem with SLKR typically is SLKR has this weird problem where he always wins, but he never has allies by the end. He solos. But here we go. He has his allies at the end of that Jabba battle. We got a Leia battle. Also rough. People are like, oh, you need Relic 9. You need high speeds with this datacron. I'm missing 3 mods, and we have 0 problems getting through this team. And we're ending these battles with allies. Like, usually it's always SLKR by the end, just soloing, and he's ramped enough damage to absolutely wipe the field. But instead, this is happening, and I think a lot of it has to do with there's certain mechanic that SLKR usually is considered a debuff to him. It's something that most people consider to be something bad about his kit, but they're taking advantage of it in a really interesting way. We'll talk about it at the end, and then as well as whenever an enemy hits someone that's not the leader, they get like a random ally gets damage immunity, which is crazy. This team right here, this is a level 9 Moff Gideon cron. Overall, Lord Vader's about a 70%, a little higher, but around 70% win rate when it comes to this team. I do it quite often, but still, 70% is not like the best counter, and yet here we are ending with more people. We aren't having people die off anymore, and this is with a doubt cron. This is like the bread and butter of Lord Vader, is supposed to be these doubt crons that make him real scary, and yet we're just killing people off. It's literally, I think we're gonna see an age of defensive viability with this character during this datacron. Because usually, there's too many counters for SLKR to make him perfect on defense once you start getting higher tiers. Like, for instance, going into Rhodium, going into Kyber, you start to fall off with him on defense. But with this, I think no matter what, he's going to be an absolute menace on defense. I think the First Order TIE Pilot might be a better defensive cron, and this might be better offensive cron. Kind of similar to how the Ray cron and the Holdo cron, there's benefits to both. But just looking at what this does, like right here, I took Daka and Zombie against JMK. Yes, I had to use those 2 to get this to work. The classic, the classic lineup didn't quite do it for me, but I was able to do this. This was repeatable with this team. I was able to take this out. Basically, it does come down to a classic Supreme Leader Kylo Ren where it's just him left, but I'm still wiping the floor with this team. which is normally not something that SLKR can do unless he's in 3v3. So I think we're going to see a huge boost to offensive and defensive viability to the point of like Bane cron levels, which is going to be a lot of fun for you that have Lightspeed bundles. With this Holdo cron, with this SLKR cron, I think you guys are looking at having an excellent defense, an excellent offense, and just having a good time. Wiping a JMK in one hit from full health, amazing, beautiful. You know, obviously you're not going to face Bane in Grand Arena, but I think there's a possibility that on defense this can even stop a Bane, just based off of this battle and how one-sided it is. I accidentally brought in Daka Zombie. I'm honestly sure this would have done just fine with the First Order instead, but like, still clean, full team, still alive. And this is the one that actually blew me away the most. This is a classic First Order versus JML. JML is not someone you want to toy with when you have SLKR. It's just not a good counter. And yes, it did get a little scary, but the fact that he can basically take his opposite, the rock, paper, scissors, JML is the rock to the scissors of SLKR. It's like the fact that he could still take him out with just this Datacron is wild. So going over the Datacron just briefly as to what it does, obviously this 15% max health and max protection is very helpful because it's at the start of the encounter. They gain 15% max protection and max health for each other dark side ally, so it stacks and you end up with, what is that, 5 times 15%, that's 75% I believe. Tons and tons of max protection and max health, which is crazy good for keeping the team alive in anyways. I am worried about that cron a little bit. Last time we saw this, we ended up with a lot of timeout risks, a lot of teams that took the full 5 minutes and people were upset. Star Killer is going to be not viable against Ray even after the Ray cron goes away, if the past is any indicator, because that was the problem when this came around last time. But then moving on from that, yes, it's great for the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren team, but this big wordy thing. So we'll start with the first section. Whenever First Order ally scores a critical hit, which they have advantage, so if they can crit, they will crit, like constantly from SLKR. The leader gains 10% offense, max of 200% until the end of the encounter. If the leader scores a critical hit, they gain an additional 10% offense, and all other First Order allies recover 15% health and protection. So baking in some actual banner recovery into the team, which is wild. We've never seen that in SLKR, and it's super, super nice. Plus just insane damage, because that's basically if SLKR takes a turn, then First Order officer takes a turn, then Hux takes a turn, you've already hit that 200% offense, which is wild. And so you've already, tripled your offense, or quadrupled technically, which is insane. Then, whenever a leader uses an ability, just an ability in general, remove 1% turn meter from all First Order allies. I think this is one of the most important pieces, is this right here, which sounds minuscule, sounds weird, but every time Supreme Leader Kylo Ren or his allies lose turn meter, they gain 10% max health and max protection, stacking permanently. Every time they gain turn meter, the opposite happens. But basically what this means is every time Supreme Leader Kylo Ren takes a turn and uses any of his abilities, he instantly buffs all of his allies by 10% max health and max protection, which is crazy, which is why we're seeing these guys stake around for a long amount of time. Next up, we got whenever First Order ally attacks a stunned enemy, which of course there's tons of stuns in this team. SLKR locks the stuns on. But they deal 10% max health damage to that enemy. This damage can't defeat enemies. So you're dealing additional damage to enemies, which is crazy nice. Then whenever the leader is not damaged during the enemy turn, this is another one of those ones that I think is helping a lot with those fights that we're going into that we shouldn't be able to win. Whenever the leader is not damaged, so not damaged during the enemy's turn, there are no allies with damage immunity. A random First Order ally gains damage immunity for 1 turn. So, they hit the tank, all of a sudden one of the tanks has damage immunity. It's like, well, sucks to suck, you can't get through them now. And then finally, the final one, yes, the First Order TIE Pilot has some really, really, really cool stuff, but you can't beat, at least in my opinion on offense, the ability to have 5% more damage per relic level on all allies present. On a base level SLKR, let's total that up right now. we'll pull out our calculator. And so that is 7 for the Relic 7 on Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, because that's like the base level you always put a GL at, plus the 7 on Crew for the requirement, plus the 5 on Hux, plus the 5 on Sith Trooper or First Order Officer, plus the 5 from First Order Stormtrooper, and you have 29 here. And so 29 is your total times 5, and you have 145% more damage on this team, plus that extra 200% offense. You literally have insane amounts of damage, and that's why we're able to wipe that Rey team off the face of the earth in like 1 turn. Like, it's insane how much damage you end up dealing. So I am very curious what we'll find, and I can't wait for people to test the First Order TIE Pilot as well, the Special Forces TIE Pilot, because I think there's going to be a lot of fun things, and I honestly think it might be better for certain counters. But just this alone has given me so much joy, so much excitement, and I can't wait for each and every one of you, because a lot of us, you know, we're newer to the game. I'm not newer, I've been around for a couple of years, but a lot of you are newer. You just got the Lightspeed bundles, that's all you have, and really CG is being like, hey, we want you to be able to dominate the meta. We want you to get a taste of what this game has to offer when you have all of the toys and all of the fun stuff, and I love that very much so. Like, yes, the top end of the game is going to have a field day, and, you know, Kyber 1 will be battling it out with these wild datacrons, but, you know, for us, we'll just have 1 or 2 that are really, really fun, and be able to spark some joy in the game and be like, wow, this is so much fun. My SLKR was already amazing, and now it's hilarious. And, you know, we've talked just yesterday about perfect PPs, where it's something that's good, something you like in canon, and something that makes you laugh. And this fills all the boxes for me right now, and I love that. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you're going for this specific datacron, or if you're on the First Order Special Forces TIE Pilot. You know, let me know if you're going to get a Phasmacron. I'm actually curious how many people are going to be going for a Phasmacron, even if it's not like a Phasma herself, but like, you know, just another one for Phasma. Because I remember back last time we had Supreme Leader Kylo Ren in the Datacrons, we also had a Phasmacron that gave Phasma infinite turns in Territory War, and it was hilarious. It was great. It made me actually feel like I was doing something in Territory War, because back then that was like my only Relic team. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I think this is absolutely awesome. Love you guys so much. If you guys like this video, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video.